So I'm recording. And just to make sure everybody sees my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All righty. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Raven Planning and Quail/Peacock review meeting. So the idea is to review Quail release accomplishments, figure out what it is that we want to do for the next Raven release, and then if there's any dependencies or if you can figure out have community help, that would be good. So this is just a rough sketch, at least on my part. Feel free to augment things. But given the fact that this release is slightly shortened with a short April month, plus we had the first part of January occupied, moved us from the traditional mid-April to towards the end of April, so we get an extra week. I backed off roughly 3 weeks to have a feature freeze to allow QA properly vet things. And I figured this time around, let's just have one milestone release, which is towards the first half of the March month. I put all of these entries on a calendar. If somebody has any objections or suggestions, we can certainly move the milestone or adjust the feature freeze date. So with that, given the fact that we're starting on, about to start on next-gen ONOS, next generation architecture, the idea is to kind of slow the major push on features within the Raven release, at least when it comes to core and platform, and primarily focus on finishing the JDK 11 build, and then work on scalable improvements for the existing Trellis deployment in Comcast, and then just do bug fixes. As far as, again, this is as far as the core and platform. So the community and people who are working on various applications are free to continue to add features, and we would more than welcome that. So with respect to core and platform, Ray and Jordan, do you guys want to talk about this?
Sure. So the big push was to be totally up to speed with Apache Carafe. So we're now at 4.2.2. We have been trying to keep up on Bazel releases. We're officially, quote unquote, on 0.19 now, but I try to keep up with whatever Google is doing. Bazel is actually evolving pretty quickly. So we're now compatible with 0.21, even though you don't have to use it, you can if you want to. We've done some testing with various JDKs. We seem to be doing just fine runtime-wise with various JDKs. There's this weird bug that we hit where if we build with JDK 11, it doesn't work. So that's going to be something we're going to have to look at kind of right away to see why it is that the compilation system should even matter. And I'll let Jordan talk to the Atomics upgrades.
Yeah, so we upgraded to Atomics 3.1. So this is a new minor release of Atomics that's really focused just on stability, because that's what we're focusing on overall for ONOS. So it just has some improvements to like cluster membership algorithms, a new, more stable raft log, and then just all the other work just related to primitives and things. We're just focused on bug fixes. So.
All right, thank you. And then for the deliverables, take that over.
Yeah, so we really want to get off of Oracle completely. We're not going to change the language level of our code base from 8. We're going to leave it at 8, but we really want to build, test, and deploy with the OpenJDK 11, since that one is supposed to have a relatively long lifespan, and that will make some of our partners happy who are worried about an Oracle tax being instituted. When we did the cut over to Bazel, we just ran out of time to get Sonar working, so I'm actually working on getting that again. The net effect of this is if you go to our Sonar Cube, you'll see that we haven't had new coverage data in months. That's why we have to fix that. I kind of feel like we talked a lot about, amongst those of us here at ONF, about making a bigger push for stability and constant deployment, and I really feel like coverage is important data to know how you're doing in terms of how reliable your test suite is. And I'll let Jordan speak to the ISSU stuff.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of work on ISSU, but one big piece that has been missing is how you actually operationalize that. And so there are some complexities to the ISSU protocol that don't make existing Kubernetes resources not suitable to managing ISSU for ONOS. And so the goal to be able to deploy ONOS with upgrades on Kubernetes is to build a Kubernetes operator in the next release, which is basically a custom resource that has the details of how ONOS nodes can be upgraded sort of ingrained into it. And so my plan is to demonstrate that for the first milestone.
Perfect. Okay.
Jordan, can you characterize a little bit why we can't use standard capabilities of Kubernetes and why a custom component is required?
So I could probably, it's probably easier to send you the original ISSU documentation, but the problem is that, the problem is that we're controlling a network, and so the normal Kubernetes upgrade process would be to just do a rolling upgrade. But if we did that with the ONOS controller, what you'd get is a cluster where devices are connected to two different versions of the software that potentially behave differently. And so the upgrade process that we built switches devices over from one version to the next all at once, which requires some CLI commands to be run and things like that. And so what the operator would do is upgrade a portion of the cluster, switch the devices over to the new version, and then finish the upgrade. And so those are the types of details.
Right. So there's an implicit requirement or constraint there that version, I can't have a cluster of version N device or version N ONOS and version N plus one ONOS acting as one cluster.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Is that something we should address though, as opposed to build a custom Kubernetes component? I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead, Jordan. Sorry.
I mean, I don't want to completely derail the meeting, but I mean, there's two ways to solve this problem, I would think.
For sure. But my thinking was to solve this on the NG platform.
Yes. Yeah.
Jordan, comment.
No, I think Thomas is right. So yeah. So I mean, this is the protocol that we have now. I think when we start designing NG, we need to make ISSU a focus of it from the start, so that we can try to figure out how to solve these problems in exactly the way we want to. But this is the protocol that fit in with the current design of ONOS. So this is why to make it happen.
All right, thanks.
All right, good question though. Okay, on the GUI 2, Sean couldn't make it, but he was kind enough to send us a video with this update. We don't necessarily need to play it here, but there's a link in the demo section at the end where everybody's welcome to view it, and he basically goes over what was done. Just in short, he's continuing to migrate the Topology View an added number of the features in order to achieve parity. There's still more work to be done, but the topology is coming together quite nicely, I have to say. It's for the most part functional. So this is just a quick screenshot of the GUI produced by the new GUI 2. And supports localization and a lot of the same features. And the plan for Sean is to continue to work on this into Raven. Again, primarily just focused on a topology view to add preferences so that there's persistence from when switching views. But it should be able to fix nodes, have background maps, support latitude and longitude coordinates. Also, it adds the separation of the layers for packet and hosting the packet on optical devices. Also to support dynamic updates. Currently, the view just loads, but when changes happen, then the icons are not appropriately updated. And then he brought in, he's starting to bring in some of the, sorry, I should say, Sean plans to bring in some of the region and sub-region functionality, but as a low priority, only after the existing features are brought up to date. Stratum. Carmen, or do you guys want to take that?
Yeah, again. So in terms of accomplishments for Quail/Peacock, we upgraded the supported version of Before and Time to 1.0 release candidate number 3. So we're approaching the official release. We added initial support for GNMI and OpenConfig interfaces model. So we have support for things like port discovery, port stats polling, and subscription to port app down events using GNMI. We added a Stratum driver. This is a new driver that essentially extends the existing Before and Time and GNMI driver and acts as a broker between the two. We did a number of improvements to Fabric.P4. So we added new capability like support for double VLAN cross connect, which is something that it's needed in SIBA. We did a major refactoring of the implementation of Fabric.P4, and this was necessary to optimize the hardware pipeline stage utilization that went from 10 to 6 stages. So this makes space for extra functionality we can add to the pipeline. And this was followed by a refactoring also of the pipeliner implementation in ONOS. This was necessary to mostly to clean up after a number of months experimenting on it. We have various bug fixes on the gRPC protocol side of things. We fixed a number of exceptions there, and now we have initial support for gRPC secure channel using SSL and TLS. And we can move on.
Yeah.
Is there any question about the accomplishments?
No, looks great. Not from me.
Okay. So in terms of deliverables, we plan to improve scalability. We noticed some issues when using Trellis when it comes to responding to switch failures, link failures, or changes to the topology. When it comes to a flow and group reconciliation, because basically we don't respond to certain write errors, for example, duplicate flow entry or group, things like that. So we rely on the reconciliation mechanism, which makes us wait probably too much time before the desired state is applied to the device. So we have a plan to change the way, slightly improve the way we do flow group reconciliation to improve reconciliation times. We plan to bump Before and Time support to the official 1.0 release, which at this point is imminent. The guys in the Before and Time working group are mostly fixing the last issues. We plan to enable also writing state with GNMI, in this case, port configuration. So the current support is only about reading state from the device. So we want to be able to support writing the port admin state, the speed, and the auto negotiation of a port. And finally, we plan to add support for new capability in Fabric.P4, which is what we call layer 2 load balancing / lag. In terms of milestones, we first plan to demonstrate support for Before and Time 1.0, along with port configuration via GNMI. And this is nice because it's the first time we demonstrate fully functioning system completely based on P4 runtime and GNMI, while in the past and previous demos, when it comes to port configuration, we were always using some proprietary API. So this is the first time we should be able to show off a real network running on open protocols like this. And second, we plan to demonstrate support for lag / layer 2 load balancing. In terms of help requested from the community, there is a list of Jira stories at the URL, but the big item is that we miss IPv6 support in Fabric.p4, and this is something where we would like the community to help.
Great. A quick question on the IPv6. There is the P4 portion of it, and I assume you also controller side as well, right?
Yeah, correct. So the controller side of things, it's quite easy because again, the pipeliner is almost a one-to-one mapping. Most of the work required here is on the P4 side of things.
I see. Cool. Well, thanks, Carmeloni. Okay, ODT and Andrea, are you online, I assume?
Yes, that's me.
Awesome.
So just a few updates on what we have done, mainly in Quail. For any ODTN users, I would skip entirely 1.15. And I would go to 1.14 for phase 1.0 implementation, or 2.0 for phase 1.0 plus the things I'm going to talk about now. So I would just go ahead and completely skip 1.15.
Can you go again? This is sorry. Can you expand on that a little bit? Why 1.15 is person non grata?
Because we moved to it's not being tested. I don't have the tests, and I did develop some tests for STC. I'm going to talk a little bit about them later. But those tests are going to be on 2.0 and 2.1 in the future. And so mainly is because I don't know the state of things in 1.15. And I didn't, since my effort is already limited, I assumed that putting energy in backporting and making sure everything was also working on two things at the same time. For the set of features that we planned, we did achieve something on 1.14, which was phase 1.0. So if anybody wants phase 1.0 is 1.14, and that's okay, it's working. While for anything after that, just go with 2.0. And that's upgrading also Carafe and everything, so we have that system working. And also because there were some changes to the Yang tools, which have been backported to 2.0, but not to 1.15, unless I'm not aware of it.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
You ready to move on to the next one?
No, can you go back to that one? I didn't go through them.
Okay, I just was thinking you were asking me earlier to switch. So go ahead.
No. Sorry. So we did expand phase 1.0 with the refactoring of a few drivers. We added the Cassini support. We refactored Infinera thanks to NTT, and we added an initial implementation of the flow programmable for transponders for phase 1.5, thanks to the Metro Hall project. We updated TAPI to 2.1 first, and then 2.1.1 with a few bug fixes that we needed. So that's the northbound of ONOS. We updated the OpenConfig models to the reference design spec. So those are now the ones that we specify in the reference design of ONF. We did a 2.6 release of the Yang tools and the dynamic configuration pieces with bug fixes and improvements. And we also did a bit of RESTconf and NetConf bug fixes. So that's what we've done in 2.0. In 2.1, what I plan to accomplish is fully integrate the OpenLine system with discovery and programming of the connectivity service extended transponder drivers with the flow root programmable to fully deploy both on the transponder line side and OLS and the other transponder line side port on optical connectivity intent. Refactored netconf device provider to avoid some issues that we have been seeing where some behaviors were called before the session was established. So I already have a patch for that. I just need to undergo a few more testing, especially in a distributed scenario. Test multi-instance ONOS with phase 1.5. That's another Raven deliverable that I want to do, and an STC full suite where it's included both setup of the app, test of RESTconf northbound, and topology discovery, and deployment of a full connectivity service. Parts of those being merged to 2.0 and 2.2 and master, so 2.1 as of today. A few milestones: demonstrate this STC test and the refactored device provider, and then demonstrate the multi-instance support, and then to end OLS and transponder provisioning as the end goal. Because as Thomas was saying before, the end of this release is going to be end of April, and the first week of March we have OFC, for which basically the end-to-end provisioning is the demo that we are giving there. So this is what we will deliver. And just I wanted to point out that I'm by myself doing this, inside ONF. So everything that you see here, it's from community. So I want to thank, I put a few names in the previous slide, but everybody in the ODTM project. Hiroki, Ramon, Kwan, Dominique, Alessio, and all of the other people. And also, I've added the Jira stories. You can follow the things that we're doing there. And if you want to pick something up, just feel free and reach out to me. And there are a few items that we will definitely need help on. So thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thanks, Andrea. This is great. Hey, quick question. I realize that this may be not necessarily directly related to ODTM, but there was a memory leak defect in netconf. Is that something that...
So there's a thread going on in there. There is a combination of few things. I believe the error is not in the netconf device provider itself. I believe it's just, at least as my understanding to the thread goes, is that it's just exposing an underlying issue in atomics. Jordan, please correct me if I'm wrong. So the patch that I was talking about in the refactoring of the netconf device provider should address that.
Okay.
And the problem is that the guy is testing on 1.14, and that patch is now going into 1.14. So either we find a way of testing it on 2.0, or I backport that on 1.14 and let the guy test it. That's something that we're working on it. Jordan, any comments? I don't know if you have the...
So it sort of, when I looked at it, it sort of looked like the two, like the re-electing masters and the memory leak were not, they didn't seem like things that should be connected. So I'm looking into it, and I'm actually doing some profiling this morning. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. I mean, I guess that the issue was due because there is a retry on existing netconf devices. If they were not connected, there's a mechanism in there to do some retry. And the issue presented itself where the device had a wrong password. So it kept retrying opening the session, and for that it needed an election of the mastership because only the master will open the session. So that's why it presented itself, I believe. Yeah, let's see how the profiling goes, and then we can take action based on that.
Well, cool. I just wanted to make sure there was either fixed or was on the radar. So this is good. Thank you. Okay, next QA. Do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. So for the Quill release, QA worked on the following items. The first, we migrated some of the segment routing and segment routing multicast tests from Mininet to FlexPod, which runs with hardware switches and hosts. And we demonstrated on that feature. You should be able to find the demo in the Peacock milestone number 2 review meeting recordings. And then John worked on some HA improvements, which is updating HA tests for separated atomics cluster. We also made some changes to test down for Craft 4, and that's mainly because of the format of the CLI in Craft 4 has changed, and we need to make sure that test down reads the output correctly. Okay, next slide.
Okay.
So for the next release, we will be working on the following deliverables. So first, we will be working on creating new tests for Trellis, which will probably be some scalability test or performance or longevity test. So we don't have a detailed plan for that yet. So I think we will start from having a discussion with the Trellis team. And then I will be working on this item, and then John will be working on the rest, I think. I don't have the details, but I will just go through them. So that includes first running tests using Kubernetes. And then the other two are HA related. First is refactor upgrade tests to work with new Kubernetes operators. And then create HA test plans for Atomics Raft cluster failures. Okay, that's it.
Great, thank you. And I think also one on a side note, when it comes to the next gen ONOS, I think it would be good to have the QA's involvement right from the get-go, because I think it would be nice to be able to have the group start to adapt the existing tests, or clone the existing tests to test the next generation platform from the start. Or
Okay. Yeah.
start thinking about what kind of adjustments need to be made, or whether to adopt, whether any changes framework are needed.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, Thomas, just quick question. So if there are any meetings regarding the next gen, can you please involve it?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, we want to, I'll be meeting with Guru actually tomorrow, just to make sure that we cast as wide net as possible, to make sure that we get feedback from the service providers right from the get-go. It's unclear whether we will be following the RD process, or whether we will tap into the existing RD for UPenn, or what. But yes, absolutely, you can count on that. That will actually rope you in right from the start.
Okay, thank you so much. Just wondering, and then I'll catch up with you on the side about the timings.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So for the demos, we didn't have anything signed up, because I think a lot of the demos remain the same from what was given during the last milestone. But there was one, as I mentioned in the beginning, Sean provided the YouTube video. I'm going to let everybody watch it on their own time. I highly recommend that you do that. Sean has done really, really excellent job. And it's spectacular that he's doing a lot of this, pretty much all of this work on his own time, not as part of his company time. So again, thanks a lot, Sean. So I think this is it. That brings the review and planning to the conclusion. Is there any parting comments that folks want to make, or any questions? If not, we can stop the meeting, and we'll, I guess, see everybody next milestone. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.